What's up, guys? Living Lee Life here. I'm going to talk to you today about a big problem America may have in the future: natural selection. I was scrolling through my videos as usual today. Came across Warren Smith. I like him. He's a conservative leaning person, but he gets into debates a little bit like Charlie Kirk, but not to that intense. He usually reviews different things, different videos. He tries to remain objective and just tries to find the reasoning through these topics. Sometimes he agrees, sometimes he disagrees, or what have you. But today, he had on an individual. I don't remember his name. You guys tell me in the comments below. But this individual just seems so ridiculous to me. I figured I had to make a video. I don't usually do content like this. I'm going to start shifting. It's time that our voices be heard. More reason based thinking, less just emotion or fictitious thinking needs to occur. What we're going to do is we're going to get into the video. I'm going to talk about a few key things, and then I'm going to talk about why natural selection may solve this problem for us in the future. So starting off here, I got the video pulled up already. This is Warren Smith here. This is the individual. I believe he runs the Pushing the Limits podcast. I'm not exactly sure. Never watched it. Maybe I need to. I've seen this man's face a few times. I do not remember his name. I apologize for that. I'm going to leave a link in the description to this video. You can go watch the entire interaction. It's pretty interesting. This is the first time, I believe, I've seen Warren get a little bit heated. He starts getting a little frustrated just based off the reasoning. But we're going to dig right into it. What started this, I believe this is a clip from a longer video that I have not seen. I've only seen this clip. It's about 10 minutes long. We're not going to break it down into the full 10 minutes, but what started this is essentially Warren claims that if he sees a young black male, in my line of work, we call them military aged males, right? If he sees a young black male walking on the street alone in the dark, he may cross the street and go to the other side. If he's dressed like the typical hip hop culture, sagging pants, wife beater, maybe a face tat, maybe do rag, whatever. Warren just claims that he may shift to the other side of the street. This gentleman is just baffled by this thought and accuses them of being racist and all these other things. So we're going to dig right into it, starting with a little clip here at 53 seconds.
I don't even know what that means. What, if someone's
I just crossed the street to avoid a kid with his pants sagged?
That's not against the law. As long as you're not.
It was, but is that wrong?
Yes, it is wrong to treat somebody different.
How's
just
that treating them differently? Why do I not have the freedom to act accordingly based on my rational thinking? This is a
So that's a key point. That's the key thing that I don't understand. Maybe you guys can help me. I don't understand why he claims that it's wrong. Warren then steps in and says that how is it wrong based off of his individual thinking or his individual perception of the situation. And that's what I'm trying to get to. Us as people, right? We have survived through the years. Part of that survival comes from homeostasis, the adaptation of the body. A lot of it comes from the adaptation to the environment, but it also comes with our reasoning. We are by no means the lead predator on the planet. We survive and became the predator through problem solving, pattern recognition, threat identification, and so on. So, if Warren here is walking down the road and he's seen movies, he's had maybe negative interactions, he's listened to hip hop music, he sees the news, he sees the people's mugshots, and all of this data is processed in his mind, so he sees this individual walking towards him who fits the profile of this potential gangbanger, then he may cross the street for self-preservation. In my opinion, that does not make him racist. That just makes him a survivalist, right? He's reacting off of previously known information. He doesn't know the guy. He's not taking the time to get to know the guy. It's not like he walked up, they had a conversation, they shook hands, and he was like, bro, I'm walking across the street because you're black, right? Or refused to shake his hand. That's not what he's doing. He's not walking up like, whoa, bro, you can't talk to me because you're black. I got to walk on the other side of the road. That's not what he's doing. He's saying, essentially, if the man wants to represent this perception, this gangbanger perception, that's his choice. There's nothing wrong with that. Warren is going to self-preserve just in case and walk across the street. This other individual just has no concept of this and starts calling him racist, and it gets pretty crazy. But wait till the end. You're gonna see what I believe is the truth behind this interaction, the truth behind this man that I don't remember his name, and why he is acting like he believes this.
Perfect example of this thing we're hearing often now: suicidal empathy. People navigate the world based on past experiences, patterns.
So because somebody dresses differently than you,
Not
you
dressing
think,
differently. Why does
yes,
the kid wearing his? I've encountered this
if I wear my
so
hat
many
like
times.
this,
The whole point is that this is mimetic. You turning your hat sideways is not mimetic. That's not a meme that has spread through a culture. That's
if I
not what
wear-
we're talking about.
if
That
I
looks
wear my hat-
ridiculous. There's not a mimetic pattern behind you wearing your hat like that. I've never seen anyone wear a hat like that.
what's the-
I have seen kids with their pants dangling below their butt, and it didn't.
So that's kind of the key point here. This gentleman now tries to bring up the idea like, oh, if I wear my hat like this, then you're going to treat me different. No. If maybe I've seen on the news, maybe I've seen in movies, maybe whatever, if a serial killer was to wear their hat like this, and now you're imitating the thousands and thousands of serial killers who wear their hat like that, then yes, the answer would be yes. He would probably cross the street and treat you a little bit differently because you know that culture, you know that perception, you know, and you chose to represent that. You might be a serial killer, might not be a serial killer, but the idea is I'm not trying to stick around and find out. That's what he's not understanding. It's just baffling to me that he just immediately jumps to racism. I believe racism has become a cop out, so to speak. So racist people are bad. Treating somebody different just based off of their race is unacceptable. What's also unacceptable is using the term or the label to get out of judgment or get out of an argument or to try to hold yourself above someone else. So what I believe is happening here, man in the red shirt believes he's better than Mr. Warren Smith here. He's trying to prove it by saying that Warren is racist. He's not racist because the red shirt man would not cross the street. He treats everybody exactly the same and exactly equal. The problem with this, Warren's just claiming that he's using his past knowledge and perception to essentially self-preserve, right? Something bad is probably not going to happen, but it could happen. The analogy I like to use is 10,000 BC, whenever, two humans went frolicking through the field and then they heard a rustling and branches breaking in the bushes. And they're like, oh man, what is that? I wonder what that could be, right? And then a velociraptor jumps out and latches onto one of their faces and terminates him. That person is now deceased. The other person runs away. He makes it. That person needs to use what he's learned, what he's perceived in the future so that he can survive, so the human race can survive. So next time he goes frolicking through the fields and he hears rustling, he's probably not going to stick around and wonder what it is. It could be nothing, right? Or it could be the velociraptor about to rip his face off. This is how we've survived through the ages, because we understand, we recognize the threat, and then we react accordingly. We adapt, we understand, we have our knowledge based off of our past experiences. And then I can now spread that and give that to my youth. I can tell my daughter, hey, if you hear rustling in the bushes, that could be a velociraptor. So now you make your own choices. If you choose not to run away from the rustling, you might get eaten by a velociraptor. If you choose not to cross the street whenever a shady individual and your spidey senses start tingling, starts approaching you in a dark alley, you might get robbed, maybe stabbed, whatever. These are the decisions that you make. You have to live with those decisions. That does not make you a racist. So we're going to jump ahead here to kind of a key point and start getting into what I believe the psychological aspect is behind this whole gentleman here.
Law enforcement, I can tell you, me personally, I'm not crossing the street because I see somebody wearing baggy pants. I think that's
It's up to you.
I think that's a little overboard there. I don't know why you would do that, but
What if you saw 5 of them and you're the only one on the street, and it's
If I
dark
saw
out, you're in
five-
Chicago, and you
I'll
saw,
tell you what I would do. If I
come
saw
on, man, be
five,
honest.
I'm going to be honest with you. If I saw 5 people wearing Klan hoods, I would probably cross the street.
You're avoiding the question. Like,
No,
why?
no,
what would
I
you
don't
do
care.
if you saw 5?
So let's talk about that. He says, you know what he does? He tries to defer the question like a child, in my opinion, just acting like a 4-year-old, like beating around and not having a serious conversation. Because when was the last time you saw 5 gentlemen wearing Klan hoods walk down the street? Maybe you've seen it in a picture, maybe a black and white picture, but when was the last time that was prevalent? When was the last time you turned on the news and you were like, oh, another Klan attack from the hooded white robe wearing individuals attack in New York City? More after weather, that doesn't happen. But when was the last time you saw a mugshot of a military aged male wearing a wife beater, baggy pants, face tattoo? When was the last time you saw that on the news attached to some type of heinous crime, whether it's robbery, murder, whatever? That happens all the time, right? So that's not even a relatable example. He's trying to like cop out, like, oh, you know what? Like, if I did see your type of people wearing Klan hoods, I would cross the street. But I'm not going to cross the street for that young black man who's representing the gang culture or the hip hop culture. I'm not going to cross the street. What I think is lost here is the fact that that gentleman chose that outfit, right? So if you want to dress up like Michael Myers and walk down the street at night carrying a knife, people will cross the street. People will not be comfortable. That spidey sense that I was talking about is going to start going off, and they're going to be like, yeah, it's probably not a serial killer, but I've seen that. It could be a serial killer, right? Like, I don't know, would we agree that most people aren't just going to, like, walk up to this deranged appearing man and just hope for the best? Like, well, I hope I don't get stabbed. Instead, you're going to be extremely scared and fearful. If you don't have that fear, in my opinion, you're naive. Fear is what keeps us alive. Fear is what heightens our senses. It pulls that data dump from all previously lived life experiences so that we can make the best and accurate decision in the situation, so that we can either get away, adapt, fight, freeze, whatever we have to do to survive the situation. So for him to bring up the KKK hoods, because in reality, psychologically, I would say if 5 men was walking down the street wearing KKK hoods, I would certainly bet that nobody would cross the street. They would believe it was a hoax, a gag. They would believe it was some type of sick joke. They would not feel threatened simply because there are no white hooded men walking down the street conducting heinous crimes, right? We don't see that. If you have seen it or you know of the news story, please drop a comment below and let me know. But that's just simply not prevalent. So it's not immediate danger. Somebody robbing you, stabbing you, representing the gangs, that is an immediate danger because we see it every day. I don't understand why he can't understand the relation and the differences between the two.
I've dressed like that. They're dressed like Tupac or something. They're coming down the street and you're the only one on the street. What would you?
I disagree with dress like Tupac specifically, but I understand he's a little maybe disconnected from the new culture, but he's just making a point. Like, they're dressed like that gang culture. You can listen to the lyrics, you can listen to them bragging about killing people. Look at King Von, who killed a bunch of people. Like, this is all we know, this is all we hear about in the news. So now if you want to represent that culture, you may be treated a little differently just simply out of fear. People might be fearful of you because maybe you're a gangbanger. Probably not, but you could be. And that's the idea here. That's why people would cross. It's not because you're black, right? You could be white with the face tattoo, do-rag, wife beater, sagging your Dickies pants or whatever. People would still cross the street. I don't understand how that makes them racist. You make that choice, you might be treated differently. Just like if there was a gentleman that wore a F Donald Duck shirt, right? Huge lettering to Disney. He made the decision to wear that shirt because it was controversial. He thought it was funny. People are going to stare at him now. The families that bring their kids to Disney World might feel like disgust with the shirt. They might feel as though it disrespectful, right? They might have to like move their kids away. Maybe they're like, "Oh man, look at this guy," and then they turn their face. They're reacting off of what that man's decision was to wear. That's the same exact thing Warren's trying to describe. Is he's reacting off of what the person decided to wear. What Red Shirt's saying is that nobody should be treated differently. There's different reasons why they wear it. They wear that type of stuff for style because they want to pretend that they're hard or they're a gangbanger or whatever. And I agree. That's true. If you make those choices, though, you have to understand that people may treat you differently just based off of your appearance. And that's what Warren had mentioned earlier. We judge people every day based off of initial impressions. We judge whether it's going to be safe. We judge whether we're going to be friends. We judge whether it's, all these things every day based off of initial impressions. And then we get to know people. That's not racism. That's just the practicality. That's survivalism.
Brian, would you not adjust?
No, I'm not a racist. No, I'm not a racist.
Wow.
No, I'm not a racist.
But we treat people differently every day. You do. That's how we navigate the world.
If I see somebody wearing a
You
Klan
just said if
hood,
you saw 5 people with Klan hoods, you would act differently.
Yeah,
You
because
do.
that's-
you,
because that's-
you take
yeah,
in
you know why?
incoming information
You know
and
why?
adjust accordingly.
you know why? Because it's never been proven that people wear baggy pants are a hate group. But it has been proven that people that wear white hoods and are in the you're laughing, but I'm trying to give you logic, which you've been trying to
I
tell
literally
me.
just tried to point out to you, like,
I would say I also disagree with that. It's never been proven that people with baggy pants, but he's trying to simplify the initial argument. He's trying to just say that Warren said like, oh, if you're wearing baggy pants, then Warren's gonna cross the street, and that's racism. That was not what it is. He was making the claim that if they're the exaggerated representation of this gang culture or the exaggerated representation of the jail simulation of where the baggy pants comes from and all this other stuff, then he said maybe, but you have to use all environmental factors. What time of day is it? What neighborhood are you in? What's the prevalent crime rate? What are you carrying with you? What do you have for protection? What are there other people around that could help if this person turns out to be a robber or a murderer? All these things just come into effect. But Red Shirt Man is just like, nope, you're a racist. But here's the true point here, which I wanted to make, which I think it kind of explains what is happening here.
there's objective evidence that we could point to that there is an overrepresentation of crime in this
And the only-
hip hop culture.
And the only
you're
thing
not, you just don't want to talk about it.
No, but the only thing you've given me is anecdotal evidence that you spoke to some
That's
kids.
not anecdotal. We can literally count the songs of the artists, look at the lyrics, and track the data.
The response from the audience when they start calling in.
That guy Warren.
So this is gonna be, I guess, after their interaction, right? I guess it was on a live stream or whatnot. Now this man's gonna receive some calls from his viewers. This is what I think the true problem is, especially for America in the future. So I want you to pay attention to this man's face right here.
He is such a. He's like a. He's too young.
That face right there. Look at this. Look how he kind of raises his eyebrows, right? I play poker professionally for a living. I read people. I'm about 2 semesters away from my master's in psychology. This is a true tell, as we would say in the industry. This man is getting a dopamine hit. This man is happy at this point. He didn't know what the caller was going to say until he started kind of piecing the words together. Like, this man is, so he believes he's about to kind of shit on Warren Smith. That's going to make this red shirt man feel above him. You're going to see this pattern in all of his callers are like wishing that he's dead and all this other stuff. That dopamine hit of being right is what I believe keeps this man down this illogical path. What other reason would you have to fight so avidly for like a subjective reality where you can just make up rules or you don't understand like what world is, right? I believe psychologically he's getting the fixation of being correct. So he can come into the arena or he can come into the room where people have opposite ideas of him, but he does not have to listen to those ideas. He does not have to reason, because simply once he leaves, he's going to return to his world or his people, and they're going to boost his ego to the point where he can continue to believe that he's better. And over time, it's going to start compounding to where he's just going to be too far lost, and he's just going to be completely dismissive of any type of actual reasoning, which is where I think we are getting to today. Where the natural selection comes in is people like this who truly believe what they're saying are gonna start acting upon it, and they're gonna start making poor decisions. That survivability instinct is going to start diminishing. That population of thinking is going to decline. As the education level declines, the decision making declines, the rationale begins to decline. This is why we have kids start eating, Tide Pods and doing all these silly challenges for social media. And this is really where natural selection is going to start stepping in, which we'll get into in a minute after we listen to a few of these call-ins.
To be a freeze-dried hippie, but that's what I think he is. I think he's hearing from all these crazy sides, and he doesn't know what the hell is going on.
To be candid, I wish you would never have him on again. He sucks.
Next time Warren comes on the street and he sees somebody with banging fence, I hope he gets hit by a bus.
And I'm trying to be nice here, but I can't. To me, that's racism. And I tried to be nice. I didn't want to flat out say, Warren, you sound like a racist.
I feel like I am living in a parallel reality. Like, what debate are you talking about? What debate were you listening to?
That's kind of the point right there. Warren's super frustrated. His callers, though, boost his ego. Because what debate were you listening to, right? And his callers are like, I hope next time he crosses the street, I hope he gets hit by a bus and all this other stuff. But in reality, just basic reality, most people understand that there's threats in the world. Not everybody's good. We have to make decisions constantly. These decisions are what keeps us alive. All Warren was saying is if a black military-aged male chooses to dress like a gangbanger and he runs into him in the middle of the night in the downtown streets of Chicago, he may cross the street simply for self-preservation. Distance equals safety. This man flat out just said he's a racist. Like, I'm trying to be nice, but I can't because that's racist. He did not give explicit examples, except for the fact that if there was 5 hooded men walking across the street or whatever. This type of thinking here is dangerous, especially the way that the world's heading. So me, in the warfighter mentality, you have to be able to identify, react to threats constantly. That identification comes through training, lived experience, and perception of the situation. So as soon as you lose those three, as soon as you lose your situational awareness, that's whenever the attack is probably imminent. I bring this up because people like this, Red Shirt Man, are going to get taken advantage of. They're going to be the result of robberies, of murder, of things like that, just simply because they're too naive to recognize that people are different and threats appear in different forms as well. So just because a man's wearing a suit and tie does not mean that he might not harm you or rob you. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the person in a suit and tie historically is less likely to harm you than the wannabe gangbanger on the street at 2 o'clock in the morning who's dressed like a thug with face tattoos. That's who we see on the news harming people. That's who the psyche believes could possibly harm us. You can't avoid all dangers, but you do your best so that you can survive, procreate, be there for your family, continue to educate your offspring, and so on. With that, I'll use this as an example. Let me see if I can refund this video here. I believe I had it saved here. So this right here, this type of person, that Red Shirt Man, is claiming that he would not cross the street. This is the type of news that is reported on why Warren Smith says he may cross the street because of actions like this. This was a pretty, I want to say viewer discretion is advised. It's pretty sad, but let's watch and talk about it.
They were just sitting at a bus stop, minding their own business. 32-year-old Ryan Carson and his girlfriend. Surveillance video obtained by Pix 11 News shows an unidentified man in the black hoodie first walking by them. The couple gets up to go on their way, but the man cuts them off. Police describe him as emotionally disturbed. At one point, you can hear the man yelling. Then, without warning, he lunges at Carson, who tries to run, but trips over the bus stop bench. The man then attacks Carson with a knife he's holding in his right hand. We're stopping the video right there. Carson's girlfriend is clearly terrified.
Go watch him, go watch him.
Another woman nearby comes over to help.
I'm gonna call 911.
But Carson, a social justice...
So this man right here, Ryan Carson, I believe, was a social activist. He was much like that red shirt man who is saying the same thing. But this man actually fought for the rights of people in poverty, the minorities, the lower class. He was trying to make a difference. Maybe that clouded his judgment. Maybe it didn't. This was obviously an extreme, random act, you know? What I'm saying is this is the type of news that causes Warren to question that. Like, yes, maybe I would cross the street. Red shirt man just says he's racist, right? Red shirt man would not cross the street. Red shirt man might be susceptible to an attack like this. I bring it up because what if right here, stand by. So right at the beginning of the video here, they get up, they just left a wedding or a birthday party, I believe, a dinner. They were waiting for a bus. They leave, right? Right here, when this guy starts kicking, acting erratic, why didn't they leave? Why didn't they run? This man, and there's no offense to him, but he may not have been a war fighter. He may not have self-defense tactics, training, and all this other stuff. So he needs to self-preservation here, and he could run. The red shirt man from the previous video would claim that that's racist. But we, unfortunately, can see what happens when he doesn't run. If he ran, he may be alive. He didn't run, bad things happen. That's all Warren was saying. So I don't understand. This is where, like I said, the natural selection, I believe, is going to be a huge problem, especially with people who are ignorant, like that red shirt man. The ignorance is getting extreme. The fact that people believe that their opinion is the only right opinion, the fact that people believe that they can enter the room, say whatever they want to say, leave with no repercussions, it's getting out of control. But that mindset is causing second and third order effects. Those second and third order effects include self-preservation being questioned in fear of retaliation for being a bigot, a racist, a fascist, or what have you. That's all I'm going to talk about this topic here. I have a few other topics that we're going to be bringing up later this week. Subscribe if you like this type of content. Let me know if you'd like me to cover something else. I like to add the psychological aspect into some of these issues, and I look forward to sharing my opinion, sharing my voice. Make sure that we get out there, maybe bring reason back into the conversation. I'm going to set up a GoFundMe so that we can get Lee into the Oval Office in 2028. Peace.